So our next speaker will be on November 13th. Anytime you want, you can start sharing, Gelson.
So hi everyone. I'm Gelson, as before introduced me. I'm going to talk about a little bit of my PhD research, in which we try to recover magnetic information from magnetic microscopy data image using Euler deconvolution as our prime information. Uh, First, I would like to thank you for the invitation, and let's start. So I would just give a brief introduction um, of what are our final goals. And our final goals is to study the configuration of the Earth in the past, such as the paleogeography does, and we do it through the paleomagnetism. So the paleomagnetism is the part that deals with studying the record of the geomagnetic fields in the past. And to do so, we have to keep in mind, I'd like to separating three main assumptions. Uh, the first one is that the Earth geomagnetic field is a geocentric axial dipole, which means that it is a dipole that is centered with the Earth axis, and with that we can get this relationship between the inclination and the latitude. Yeah, basically that. So the second assumption is that we have a type of material that is able to acquire magnetization in the formation. And here I'm showing the one example from the uh, volcanic rocks when you have the lava. So the temperature is too high, and we don't have the alignment of the magnetic minerals. But as soon as the temperature starts to cool off through the heat temperature, the magnetic energy outpowers the thermal one, and we can have the minerals acquiring the magnetization. Uh, this is also a sub assumption that this magnetization is also aligned with the induced field during that time, which is the Earth field. And at some point, this information is frozen and kept in the rock, and which leads us to our third assumption is that this information, the rock can keep this information for a period of times. I'm talking like billions of years, but not all of them, all the magnetic mineral are capable of keeping this information. We have like a few, a limited range of particle size that is able to do it. And this leads to, it's one of the, something that leads to my work. So imagine that you go to the field work and you are drilling your rocks to get these cylindrical samples, and then you do all the preparation to cut them and acquire these small cylinders here. And this is the samples that we use in our paleomagnetic studies. And so let's taking a close look into it. The sample has a volume of 10 centimeters cubic, and within it, we can have hundreds of thousands to millions of particles of green magnetic rings, such as the magnetite, but not all of them are stable. So here I'm representing the stable ones in blue, and they are the single domain and the pseudo single domain ones. But we also have the ones that are not reliable recorders of the magnetic information, which is the multi-domain particles. And whenever we're studying this rock, the sample, in the end, our measurement is just an overall bulk information of the whole sample. So we can try to do something try to make better measurements by trying and imaging every single one of these particles. So the alternative methodology here is to apply the magnetic microscopy technique into these rocks. And here I'm showing you the QDM, the quantum diamond microscope, which is one of the many microscopes that does this imaging. And you can see here that we can measure the magnetization generated for it. This is something that we get in the magnetic image. But in order to recover the information about these particles, we need an extra information about the sources. Here, in the work of Cortes Ortuno, they use microtomography to get the position and the shape of the sources. But whenever you add in another measurement, you are spending more resources, so it's more expensive. It could also be time consuming. And if you take a close look into one of these images, so here we have a thin section that is sliced from one of those cylindrical samples, and you take them to the microscope, we can get something like this. And looking into this image, we can see that it kind of looks like in a ferromagnetic survey. And we raised the question if it would be possible to apply some of the techniques that are employed in this type of data, the techniques from the aeromagnetic surveys to the magnetic microscopy data. And for that, by comparing both of the data. So the magnetic microscopy data has a lot of, I would say, advantage over the aeromagnetic survey. So we have magnetic shielding. We don't have any external field influencing the measurements. The thin section has a flat topography. The height, the sensor height is fixed. So in the aeromagnetic survey, the plane can vary in height. All information is acquired in molecular grids, and we also know the dimensions of our problem. So with this comparison, yes, we should be able to apply this the same techniques. To show this paper that we just published, where we get this information by applying this Euler deconvolution, which is this homogeneous equation here. And when you solve them, we can get these three x, y, and z, the 3D position of the source. And now we have the additional information about the source by only using our magnetic image. So our methodology has two main basic assumptions. First one is that we are dealing with the polar source, and the second one is that we have only one source. So here is the source there, this schematic figure. We have the source here, the x, y, and z, and I will show later that we separate the windows, and each window is going to be related to one of the sources. I'll show it right now, actually. So here's the main flux, the workflow for knowledge. We get the data is one acquired from the QGM. We use the Fatina Terra libraries to do so. Step because this filter deals with the high frequency noise, And this type of noise is going to influence all of the other steps in the methodology. So after we apply this, we can apply the total gradient field. And what this does is that it gets all above the source. So we have the source positive values above each of the source, as you can see this signal here related to the sun, this one. But we cannot see all of them. So this leads us to the next step, which is applying contrast in our image. So now we can see more sources. And this project, we can apply our next step, which is what's called blob detection from the scikit image. And what this step does is that it finds where we have all of these positive values, and it gives me back the windows for each one of them. So we get all of this information. And with that, we can apply what I just showed here, and we can solve for the position of the source through the Euler deconvolution. So here's what it looks like. And now we have the information about the source. We can go to the magnetic moment inversion and get the vectors. We also have a next step, which is we filter the data using the R squared, which is kind of a dipolarity test. If the result is close to a dipole, we keep it, and if it's not, we remove from the data set. Just one question: are you guys able to see this window that's covering the screen?
Yes, we see it. But the noise is a little bad. Can you improve it somehow? Sometimes it means you talking.
Oh, yeah, I don't think.
But we see the pointer, yeah.
The pointer, but do you see the window that shows the cameras?
No, we don't see that. That's
okay.
We can only see your screen, so that's fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So that's fine because it's blocking some of my visions, but that's not a problem. So I'll keep going. So with that, let's tackle our assumptions for this work. The first one is we assume that the sources are dipolars, and we should ask if this is a really reliable approach. And to do so, we that magnetic modeling, not all of the source behaves as uniform to magnetized, such as the grains. As we can see here, the small one here is uniform magnetized, and it's probably going to behave as a dipole. But as the source gets bigger, the domain state also gets complexer. So here we have a vortex state, and we see if there's also if assuming that this is a dipole is also something that we should do. The first thing that we did was do a simple synthetic in which we get a spherical volume, and we inside it we place 200 different directions, but with bias in the plus y direction here, and we get from this volume the sum of the magnetic moments of the dipoles is the magnetic moment of the source, and also the centroid of the sphere is also the mean of the dipole's position, the x, y, and z. Meter to 6 micrometers, and we can see here the R square for each one of them, how dipolar is the source, closer to 1 is a perfect dipole, and at lower heights we can see that the source doesn't behave as dipoles, but as soon as the height goes up, it starts to behave as a dipolar source. But this is only one measurement. In order to see if this happens with all of this is something that happens a lot of times. We repeated this synthetic with 100 sources, and we applied the Euler deconvolution and the magnetic inversion to see the results. And here in this panel I'm showing you the difference in the X position for the centroid of the particle and the true centroid, the one covered with the Euler deconvolution and the true centroid. This is for the Y, and this for the Z at different heights, from 1 up to 10 micrometers in height. And we can see that it doesn't really change as the height goes up, aside from the error in the Z position, which is a little bit underestimated when you are in lower heights. But overall, all of distribution is centered in 0. But when you go to the magnetic inversion, you can see here the first panel is the R square, the dipolarity. The second one is the directional error in degrees. So it's the angle between the measured and the recovered direction. And sorry, the measured and the synthetic one. And the third one is the dipole moment error in percentage. As you can see, at lower heights, all of them pretty much fails because we are dealing with dipole modules and we do not behave as dipole at those heights. But as soon as we go for a higher sample distance, all of them we get better, close to 1 R square, and lower the Sweet's estimations. So this is also something that we observed in micromagnetic models. So here is one of the magnets acquired through cyclotopography from Belon, work of Belon and co-authors 2024. This is I forgot to place it here, but this is a vortex state particle, and what they did was they measured the stray field from the source at different heights, and in steps of 0.3 micrometers. And you can see as soon as the height goes up, the source starts to behave more and more like the poles. And in this case, it's even more at lower heights. So at 1.2 micrometers, the source is pretty much a dipole. But this is something for the next step, something that I'm going to talk about in the AGU this year. So let's tackle the second assumption about wandering of the source and how that point concentration can affect the predictability of the code. So we also made a simple synthetic for that, in which we placed two dipoles pretty much together, and we increase the distance between them, and also measure the result, the signal in different heights. So here we have the graph for this. Here is the source's distance and distance to height, and this bluish area is when the algorithm was able to find two sources, and the reddish one is when the algorithm only is not able to discern between them. And if you take a look here in the height of 5 micrometers, which is the height that QGM works, we get that for the code in order for the code to discern between the source, we need at least 12 or 13 micrometers of separation between them, so the code can see both of them. Yeah, basically. And we also did more experiments with actual grain concentration. So we created a complex synthetic sample, and we increased the number of grains, the density of grains. So this first end member here is close to carbonate rocks with lower grain density, and this other one is close to the basalt, which has a lot more grains per millimeter cubic. And we show this. So the number of sources that we actually identify divided by the number of source model, while the second one here is the angular misfitting degrees between the measured and the synthetic direction that we gave to the. And in red here is the raw estimation, and in blue is the filtered by the R-square one. So we can see that when we have lower, as expected, when we have lower density, our algorithm is able to identify a lot of sources, and this is steadily decreased when the concentration goes up, and which is also expected. But what we didn't expect is that when we filter the data, we also in this blue line here, here close to the basalt concentrations, we are pretty much removing half of the source that we found, and that must be causing this that I'm going to talk about later. But when you filter the data, shown here in the blue line, we can see that the angular misfit it's closer to 0. So the ones that we see, they are really giving reliable information. And now that we show that this works with all sorts of synthetic data, we can go and apply to real data. So here we have a spectrum sample, and the sample we knew beforehand that we had hematite and magnetite in the magnetic mineralogy assembly of the rock. Before measuring in the microscope, y direction, so pointing upwards here, 7 Tesla. So we try to saturate all the grains to that direction, and upward a smaller field of 3 Tesla in the minus y direction, so pointing down here to get only the less cohesive ones. It's probably all magnetite. So we try to separate them, their signal. And then we took this sample and we measured in the QDM, and here is all the recorded directions. And looking into the histogram for this measurement, we can see that the cluster directions, respective directions that we applied to the rock, we can see them here, the distribution. But this is even more evident when we apply the filtering. In this case here, we apply a filter of R-square greater or equal to 0.85, which means that at least 85% of the signal should be explained by a dipole. And here we can see that the cluster directions is even more evident, and we also get rid of almost all of these spurious solutions. But as I told you before, there's something happening when you filter the data, and we also see this in data. So I'm going to highlight 4 sources here that we can see. When you zoom into the data, we can see that they are really, they look like dipoles, but when you filter them, they are removed from the data set. So what's happening here is that our code is penalizing weaker source during the filtering process. And we have something that might explain this. So I found it easier to explain in the synthetic data. So here we have data of a clustered grains, and in the middle here we have a really strong one. This strong grain is influenced all of the other ones. We can see this for the Euler deconvolution results. As we can see, that the solutions are not centered with the windows, so we get so this strong source is influencing the recovery of the x and y position, but also the colors here represent the error in the z estimate in micrometers, and you can see that some sources are being underestimated or overestimated in the z coordinate. And our new code is able to deal with that. So we can see here that this is no longer a problem, or at least it's able to deal with a lot of what causes this. And I'm going to explain why, what we did to change our first methodology. What we did was just apply some few steps into the workflow. So we still do to apply the magnetic inversion. We also applied a nonlinear inversion in simplex optimization, in which we apply this equation here. So this equation is the vertical component of a dipolar source, and it basically depends on the magnetic moments of the source and the position. Here, and since they are near the optimal solution, the simplex optimization is also quite fast. So the parameters, and then we apply it as initial guesses to the simplex optimization, and get better. If we get better solutions, we keep it, and if not, we just stick with the first ones that we found here. And with that, we can calculate the forward model for this dipole, and using the same equation here, and then we remove it from the dataset. So this is showing what we do. So we first get all of the source in order of magnitude, so the stronger one up to the weaker one, and we start solving for the stronger one. So we do all of these steps, we calculate the forward mode and remove it from the dataset. So here you can see that the strong signal no longer influences all of the other ones. We still have some of the residual, but this residual is small and it's not influencing the results. And we do that for the second stronger one, remove it, and then we go to all of the source that we found in the algorithm, using the algorithm. We can even add a next step to this workflow, which is taking the residual for all the subtraction that I just told. We can apply the blob detection to see if you can find a weaker source that previously were not able to be found by the code because they were too weak. Even with the contrast, they are not seen by the algorithm. So here we have a source that is really weak, and it's in this region. And in the first part of the algorithm, it wasn't able to see it, but then we can find it using the residual for these steps. So let's us compare the solution between the old code and the new one. So I a solution for the real data, but what I forgot to say, image we found 75 frames. When you filtered it, it only keeps 46. But now the new code, so we're keeping a lot more sources. more clear. For applying the filtering, and the filter also makes even more clear. Yeah, so the algorithm works for the real data. We're going to show in more different type of samples if it's going to work to them as well. And all of this that I just showed is going to be part of a Python open source package called Magali. Magali is going to be part of the Fatinha Terra, which is a um, collection of Python libraries that deals with the potential fields data, and Magali now is going to be the one that is going to deal with all the magnetic microscopy data, hopefully. And we have a release for that. So here's the link if you want to take a look. It's going to be usable really soon. The team that is working on this library is Leo is my supervisor, so we're implementing all of this codes. And Iago is the master student that is going to enhance this methodology and also is the one doing all the releases for the Magali. So basically that is it. Thank you again for the invitation. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer. And also, if you want to contact me later, here's my email, so you can do so as well. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gelson. Very cool talk.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I might have a question. Maybe it's a very basic question, but do you know your graphics that were showing all the little dipoles, which I understand those dipoles are individual sources, right? Like individual. Okay. So these are synthetic data, so I mean all the dipoles are very aligned, right? But after show natural data from stalagmites, I guess, or stalactites. And
sorry, I didn't place
yeah,
the colored one.
That it just surprises me. So efficiently aligned the dipoles. I would expect more dispersion.
It's because we applied them to the data. Just trying, so we made them align.
Okay, I see. Okay. Sorry.
Hi.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
so
Brandon, I didn't see you.
no worries. I erased it just now.
Okay.
So if you have so you've done this with an IRM. If you are looking at a TRM or a DRM or something like that, where you've got less alignment of your grains or less alignment of your magnetizations within your grains, how many do you expect to need to recover good direction in that case compared to your IRM?
So this is a very good question. Something that I'm planning to answer in the next few measurements I'm going to do, because all of that I did was measurements with data that suffered some kind of treatment. And now I'm just start some kind of internship here in the Rogers Food Lab. So now I'm going to get to measure different types of rock in the natural state without any type of IRM, to see if we can get the alignment. I hope that answered the question. We still don't know yet, actually.
Okay. Joe has.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Excellent presentation and neat analysis. One problem we often face in paleomagnetic studies is when we do progressive demagnetization, watching individual dipoles within a scan fade. Are you able to co-localize dipole positions in the same position in multiple scans?
Yes,
we'd be able to make a Zeidelfeld diagram from each individual dipole as we demagnetize.
Yeah, what I would do, actually, we can apply the detection in all of the data that we're measuring. But what I would do is trying to get the first detection of the positions, the windows, and then try to use the same one and see the dipole evolution while you're trying to demagnetize or heating or whatever treatment you're doing. Because it's kind of hard if you do all of the detections, because you have a lot of things that are going to influence the measurement. You can have different types of noise. You can have some artifacts that appears when you're measuring that all influence. So we would need something to guarantee that the windows that we are comparing, the grain that we are measuring through all of the steps, we are still using the same one. So yeah, I would just locate them all in one of the image and try to use the same windows to all of the other ones.
In other words, you take, say, the NRM localization dipoles and then apply that localization to the subsequent demagnetization images.
Yes. I wouldn't do it like apply DRM, because then you'd remove the information. But that's an option if you do all of these steps, and then you want to really see all of them. You can just saturate all of them in one direction and find it. But we cannot guarantee if that would work. I don't, especially in the heating process. I think that would do better if you're doing the AF demagnetization. But you can do all of the steps. Apply in the last one. You can apply the RRM in the vertical position, which is easier to find, and then you can use all of these windows in the progressive steps. I think, is that what you asked?
Very much. Thank you very much.
I didn't hear. Can I ask a question? Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. I'm looking at the slide here, and as for me, it looks like there are a few quadrupoles, but your system is like doing just for dipoles. Can you comment it?
Yeah. So actually, I think you're talking about this one, right? This one and this one. There is a problem with the we don't. It could probably be dipoles higher orders moment.
Yeah.
But
For
we
example,
also
it's
have
coordinates 609 for X and 900 for Y. There is a very near to quadrupole. Yeah, this one.
Yeah. So what we do to get this vertical signal, not the vertical signal, the vertical component of the magnetic field, because the microscope images all of the makes the image into the pointing to the diamond direction, which is one of the crystallograph directions, and we have to apply some filtering to rotate the signal to the BZ. And what happens that happens if you have any artifact or any type of like really strong pixels. You can get this causes some problems when you rotate it. So we don't know yet if this is caused by these artifacts or if these are really other like quadrupoles or dipoles. So this is something that I'm still looking into it as well. Like I'm trying to do it right now,
Okay, thank you.
but it could as well be higher orders. We're not discarding this possibility.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.